the biggest thing that changed my life regarding manifestation was the moment I remembered that I was seeking validation from the 3D, and that I realized that that was totally backwards. When you remember to seek validation from your 4D, everything changes. The whole game changes. And I know I always say, like, once you have these breakthroughs or these revelations in the manifestation world, and then everything all of a sudden changes, it's because it actually does. Like, I'm not even kidding you. And this is probably one of the biggest things that you can do that is going to help you so much long term, because when you are seeking validation in the 3D, you are in an endless feedback loop that is not going to give you the results you want. When you are looking to the 3D for validation, it is not going to give you the results you want. Why? Because your world around you is formed based on your identity. Let me say that again. The world around you is formed from your identity, who you are being. And it's like I always talk about how the 3D is essentially like you in the 3D is like you and a mirror. If you are representing the 4D and the 3D is representing the mirror, or the mirror is representing the 3D, that's exactly how this world works. And so many of us get so caught up in the 3D reality, myself included, because it's so hard. Like, what are you watching this on? Probably a phone or a tablet or a laptop. And what is that? That's 3D matter that you're interacting with. And it's hard sometimes. Like, I get caught up in it too. And it's so easy to get in that feedback loop. And sometimes, like, once you start getting into a good groove with the 3D, you can kind of make it work to your advantage so that you can kind of get caught up in the 3D and, like, use it to your advantage. But at the same time, like, when I really think about it, no, like, the ultimate truth is that the 4D reality is truly the way to go for seeking validation, because once you realize that everything you think of that you decide to be true, that is your desire, you decide is who you are, it reflects into the 3D when it's persisted in. It reflects in the 3D when you stay true to it, when you stick with it long enough for it to catch up in the 3D reality. Because so many people think that manifestation can be instant. And that's what discourages so many people. That's what discouraged me for the longest time, because I thought that manifestation could be instant. And I was like, if it's not instant, then I'm doing something wrong. And yes, I want to disclaim this whole message with manifestation can be instant. It definitely can be, but the chances of it being instant when you are, like, really fresh and new at manifesting, when you're, like, intentionally starting to remember that you are the creator of your reality and your 3D reality does not dictate who you are, it sometimes feels difficult, right? Because your body is so used to relying on the 3D, and it is so used to seeking the 3D for validation, when in reality, it's the 4D that gives you the validation. Or it should be. You should be seeking validation from the 4D, is what I mean by that. And so I want to preface this a little bit with why should you seek validation from the 4D? First of all, because you're the creator of your reality. And also, why can't you manifest things instantly? Or why are most people not able to manifest things instantly? And the answer for you is because so many people decide who they are in the moment, and when they don't see it reflected instantly, they don't believe that's who they are, because the body is used to seeing the 3D for validation and experiencing the 3D for validation. It looks to the 3D for validation. It's used to it. Most of us are so trained to think that. When in reality, and in the simulation that we are living in, the 3D reality that we are dealing with, that we are interacting with, is unfortunately a little slow. I like to think of it as if you place an order online, it usually takes a couple days to get to you. Sometimes it takes a couple weeks. sometimes, depending on the order, it can take a couple months to get to you, right? And that's exactly how the 3D reality works, because what is it? It's physical matter. It's physical matter, and it's not even just that it's physical matter. It's dense matter. This is dense. We are working with dense matter, even though we and everything that surrounds us in this 3D reality is 0.00001% physical matter, and most of us are just holograms, or not most of us, all of us, and everything around us is holograms anyway. We get so tied up in thinking that this is like what it is, that we are physical matter, but we're really not. But it is more dense matter than what we deal with in here. As I'm talking, as you are thinking, you are thinking thoughts rapidly. And so many of us, most of us, have thoughts that we have like 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. That's a lot of energy, by the way, that we go through. And I'm going to say something really quick on a super quick tangent. When I started this whole quantum leap journey a year ago, might I tell you that I have been so much more hungry since I've started like rapidly trying to learn about manifestation, and not even trying to learn it, but trying to like implement it in my life, because it's a big change, and it's like my brain going off of its autopilot tracks and into a new reality. And yeah, definitely, because you're using more energy, and when you use more energy, like your brain uses a lot of energy. There was this study that I read one time that was like your brain uses like 30% of your daily caloric energy, and when you're actively using it every day, when you're not on autopilot, I can't even imagine what that number is. It's probably like more like 40, but or something, I don't even know. Yeah, anyway, we're getting off track. I just wanted to share that tangent because it's super interesting. But yes, so essentially the 4D reality is like high speed. The thoughts that you think, the feelings that you think, the imagination you have are like high speed Wi-Fi. So what does this mean in terms of manifestation? This means that why so many people don't stay true to what they decide, because everything is so instant in here. Everything is so instant in here. And because everything is so instant in here, we get frustrated and we get confused, because we're like, well, we're thinking it in here. Why is it not instantly reflected in the mirror before us in the 3D reality? And let me tell you, the reason it's not instantly reflected, again, is because the 3D reality that we are dealing with is like you placing an order online and it taking days, weeks, or months to get to you. This is where so many people give up, because this is what people call the void space. This is what people call the liminal space, the 3D lag, right? When you place an order and it doesn't come fast enough, so you get frustrated, and then you start checking all the time, all of a sudden resistance is added to the picture, which when you have that resistance, all of a sudden you're giving the universe mixed signals, so it takes even longer to get to you, if it even will get to you at all at this point, because when you are soaking your thoughts in resistance, and when you're soaking your thoughts in what if it doesn't come, and you're filling your mind with doubt and fear, that's what you think about, again, is what is reflected in your 3D reality. So if you are constantly thinking about that fear, that doubt, that is what will be reflected in reality. And sometimes fear and doubt is like a virus, right? It will plant one little thought in your head and then it multiplies like crazy. All of a sudden it becomes your dominant headspace, and that's what will end up reflecting in your 3D reality. You'll start seeing the manifestation on its way, but also taking its time, and like maybe there might be delays or something. I've had that happen before as well, myself. But don't like completely freak out or fear some negative thoughts, because negative thoughts aren't the problem. It's the reaction to them that is the problem. That is what makes the virus spread, the virus of fear spread. That is, attention is its oxygen. That's what allows it to thrive and multiply. When you starve it of that attention, that oxygen in your brain, in your thought system, your 4D reality, that is what, when you can just be aware of it, what I like to do in situations where the fear is kind of taking over, I'll be like, okay, like if I'm thinking, what if this doesn't happen? Oh my gosh, like are these negative thoughts making my manifestation come to me slower? And I just let like fear come in, or I notice the fear coming in, not letting it in, but noticing it. I look at it and I'm like, interesting. Anyway, and I like to imagine a little ... And then I just kind of shift my attention. So it's like you're noticing it. You're not completely suppressing it, because fear and doubt thoughts, or any thoughts in reality, hate when you suppress them. So when I tell you not to think about a red car, what are you going to think about? You're thinking about a red car. When I tell you not to think about a giant purple elephant that's stomping around and shaking the floor, what are you thinking of? You're thinking of it when I tell you to not think about that. All of a sudden you're thinking about it. Don't think about that purple elephant. I told you, don't think about it. And now you're thinking about it. And that's literally happening in my brain too. So when you tell yourself to not have these fear thoughts, to not give these negative thoughts attention, oh my gosh, don't give those negative thoughts attention, what happens? All of a sudden you're like thinking about them tenfold. That is not good. That is not good. I mean, I guess it's kind of, an experience for sure. But that will make the fear multiply. And that's what stops a lot of people. And it's because it's counterintuitive, right? Like, instead you just let them happen. What? Wouldn't that make the manifestation come slower? No, because what you're doing is you're allowing that thought, you're giving that thought some awareness. You're like, oh, interesting. Anyway, you're not pushing it down so that it multiplies. You're not making it bigger than it is. You're not reacting to it. And you're moving on, and you're directing yourself, you're redirecting yourself to focus back on whatever you were focusing on. Staying persistent and consistent with your new identity is the most important thing. To keep reminding yourself of who you are, to show up every day, even when it feels rough, to wake up every morning and reinstall that new identity, to remember that the 3D reality is in progress, right? To remember that because it might not show up yet doesn't mean that it's not for you at all. And another huge key thing here is when you feel that fear and those negative thoughts, when you're in the void, that's a sign that you're on the right path, because fear, it means that the old program in your mind is being threatened to be deleted. That old identity is being threatened to be deleted, and your subconscious mind is starting to recognize that, and it's throwing in that old identity is throwing in those fear thoughts because it wants to be seen. It doesn't want to get rid of. I mean, think about it. Any program that you have installed for who you are, any identity file that you have installed to code you to be who you are every day, is not going to want to get rid of. Like, it's going to want to stick with you because it wants to feel valued. You have emotional attachment to it, most likely, because it's who you've been being for so long. And so it's like getting rid of an old friend that doesn't want to not be friends with you anymore. They still want to be friends with you, but you know that they're bad for you. You know that they're holding you back, and you know that they're dragging you down with them, and you know you need to separate from them. That's exactly what your old identity is. It's like a toxic best friend that is no longer meant to be your best friend anymore. And so, of course, it would freak out. Of course, it would maybe throw fear thoughts and be like, oh, but if you're not friends with me anymore, like this and this could happen. Like, we've tackled so much together, and that's your old identity. And when that happens, just know that you're on the right path of creating a new identity, because that means that what you're doing is serious work. That means that your new identity program is slowly being installed, that your neural pathways are slowly forming around that. That means that you're creating a new you. That means that it's inevitable for the 3D to recreate around you. And it reminds me of this quote that I absolutely love. It is, when you think of your new identity as possible, that still leaves room for doubt. That still leaves room for fear, because if it's possible, there's still other ways out. But when you consistently choose your new identity, it makes it inevitable. And when inevitability enters the picture, it sucks out all room for doubt and fear, because inevitability means there's a one-track way and there is no other option. There is no other out. And when you make it inevitable by showing up as that new identity every day, that leg space gets a lot easier. That leg space, it becomes almost a reflection. Like, whenever I'm in the middle of my manifestations, manifesting things, and I'm in that leg space, that liminal space, the void, and I've been showing up as my new identity every day, whether I feel like it or not, I've noticed that that void space almost becomes a sign that I'm on the right path when nothing is happening yet. Because as if I'm feeling like the new identity and it hasn't shown up yet, I almost get excited because it's like every day that I wake up, I know that I'm getting closer and closer energetically, because it's like a feeling that you have that you can't push away. You can't shake it off, because it's that inevitability that grows within you, because you know when you're showing up every day, you can feel the difference inside yourself. And 3D is dense matter, and the 4D reality is the thoughts and imagination. It's like high-speed Wi-Fi. It's happening instantly. And that 3D reality takes some time to catch up, okay? Give her some time. Give her some patience. She will catch up as long as you are staying consistent with your identity. Wake up as your new identity every day. Download that program in your mind. Install that new software every day. Choose your new identity every day, and the world will have no choice but to reflect, because it is a mirror. And that mirror is the 3D reality, and you standing in front of the mirror is the 4D reality. And who is changing first? Plot twist, it's not the 3D. It is not the mirror that you are seeking validation from anymore, because we are remembering that we are the creators. You are the creator. You are the one making the mirror change. You are the one that is the input of what reflects in the mirror. Everything in reality is just a reflection of who you are. I'm going to say it. Everything in reality is just a reflection of who you are. And so when you are standing in front of that mirror, remembering that it represents the 4D, the imagination, feelings, that's what you represent standing in front of a mirror. When you can change that, when you can rely on that instead, when you can feel the change first and you can move first in the mirror with your 4D, like using the analogy again, you will soon see that when you stay in that shape for long enough, it will reflect in the 3D. And so it's so plain and simple. Like once you actually wrap your head around this, everything changes. Okay, I'm gonna leave this here. Sorry I didn't make videos for the last couple days, because I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but I have been so sick. The identity change is so real, because I have heard this before, where with previous manifestation, I don't know if you guys know who Manifestation Babe is, but she was a huge pillar in my manifestation and changing my reality. I think 4 years ago I discovered her. 3 years ago? No, yeah, it was 4 years ago. And I absolutely fell in love with her teachings and stuff back then. She's not so hugely prominent in my life now, for certain reasons, but I loved her back then, and I still do love her teachings. I guess I love her intentions. And I remember she would talk about her introduction story to manifestation, or not really manifestation, but the moment her life changed a lot. And she talks about how she had this moment where she went to go sit out on a dock and wrote in her journal, and all of a sudden she just had this huge breakthrough moment, and then nothing was ever the same. And when she talks about that, she also mentions later on, right before she gets her dream car, and when things actually, fast forward a year, when things are actually changing, because she's stuck with that identity for a year without seeing a lot of results, all of a sudden everything just it was everything, all of her manifestations were in a safety net above her, waiting to just be dropped on her. And then she got everything all at once, and her life just catapulted. And she talks about how when she was going through this catapult of all of her manifestations coming at once, it shocked her system, and she got so sick. And I've heard this happen with other creators before too, where right before right before you have a huge identity change, you get so sick. And I had that happen last year for me personally, when I had that whole thing in January, when this was what changed everything for me. I had a breakthrough moment very similar to Catherine Zankina, Manifestation Babe. And I was so sick, and I remember sitting there what the actual heck am I doing with my life? I am the only one who's going to change my life. I can't just wait for someone to come in and change my life. I need to change my life by choosing to be a new identity. And that was the moment that everything changed for me. And I went on this whole path of just showing up every day just to see what would happen. And I remember it was an illness that catalysted that. And then now, fast forward almost a year later, I'm sick at the exact same time, and I'm about to enter a whole new identity. And now this is the time where all the manifestations that I've been calling in and staying true to with the identity for the last year are really coming in fast, completely, it feels it's all at once. It's all happening, and it's a lot for my nervous system, and it just shocked me. And I got so sick. So That's why I have not been posting the last couple days. I could barely talk the last like 3 days. And so we're back. We're back to making videos consistently because wow, it was bad. But hopefully new identity breakthrough has installed completely, and I'm so excited to share the up and coming breakthroughs and manifestations with you. And if you watch this long in the video, I appreciate you so much. You guys are the reason I do this and show up every day. Your guys' comments mean so much to me. Like, so many of them have almost brought me to tears because you guys are just the best people ever. And this community we are building is it is unstoppable, and we are going to make a huge dent in the manifestation world, and I just love you guys so much. Anyway, I hope I see you in the next video. Hopefully it will be every day, every other day now that I'm not sick and struggling to breathe. But we are all good now, and I hope you guys are all doing healthy and well, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!